Greetings, my little space buggies. I'm Dean, and that's Mortimer, and this is the Intergalactic Kegger. Hey, we just want to start off tonight by thanking you guys so much. We've got 1,058 likes on our Facebook page so far, and we haven't even been up for 2 months. So thanks, guys, so much. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to swing by our YouTube page and subscribe so you can always be up to date on our videos. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Wendigo. Me and Barn posted a meme last week, or a couple weeks ago, on Facebook, and there was thousands and thousands of likes and shares. So we figured we'd want to do a podcast on this subject for the people who apparently like it, and for the people who don't know what it is. I learned a lot doing my research on this thing. I tell you that it's really creepy. I've watched different shows on it over the years, and it's always been something that I definitely wouldn't want to run up on in the woods. Bigfoot, I'd love to see one of those, maybe even get close to one. But this thing, if it's real, I definitely don't want to run up on it in the woods. I've heard I know there's one creepy story that me and Barn still talk about to this day every time we're out on the porch, that a guy told, and it scares the shit out of us. But yeah, this thing, apparently it's native to the northern forests of Nova Scotia and the Atlantic coast and the Great Lakes region of Canada. There's a lot of different Indian tribes believe in this thing. I'm not even going to begin to try to pronounce all their names. The Cree is one of them, and I'm just going to mention that one because it's important to this story that I got. This is a man-eating creature or evil spirit, or from what most people believe, it's just a cannibal. It's a cannibalistic person. And I'm not saying that it's anything supernatural. Some people seem to think that it is. That they're shapeshifters, that they can turn into different things, different creatures. I know a lot of people, whenever they talk about them or they picture a Wendigo, they always have antlers. They're really tall. They have like a deer skull, but it's on a human body with really long fingernails and claws. And it's really tall because they say the more it consumes, the bigger it gets, and it has an insatiable hunger, so it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. But one thing that I learned about while I was doing this research, and I like this, I'd never heard it before, there's a controversial medical term called Wendigo psychosis. And psychiatrists describe it as it's a cultural bound syndrome. Like you get your Native Americans, they're in tribes, they're out there in the middle of nowhere in the winter. There's nobody to help them. There's only 10, 12, 20 people out there, and you're secluded all winter. Food gets scarce, people start dying, people get hungry, you're going to start eating them so you don't die. And I think, they say if you eat a lot of human meat, you get the shakes, and it starts killing your brain cells, from what I understand. But I'm not saying that that's all that the legend is. I'm saying that may be a good starting point because, nobody knew how to explain that back in the day. If somebody started eating people, and they didn't know how to explain it, yeah, okay, this guy's possessed. He's a demon. He's a monster. We got to get rid of him. So, but apparently it happens not just in America, but it's like indigenous tribes have talked about similar creatures and similar cases happening, and it's caused by environmental destruction and insatiable greed. Apparently, is one of them. Like I guess when the settlers first came here, and they were going from tribe to tribe and trading, different tribes they started getting greedy. They just wanted more and more. So I guess that caused the Wendigos off to. Some of the cravens, same as the creature's definition, which is it's a constant craving for human flesh and the fear of becoming a cannibal. So I guess it's a fear of actually wanting to eat human flesh, but then you can't help yourself. Like I said, with the whole skeleton, the deer skeleton with the antlers and this and that, a lot of different cultures don't believe that. It's associated. From what I could tell, it almost looks like a zombie because they associate it with cold and freezing, starvation, and the person generally in most of the stories I found were bony and skinny. They had gray skin, like a dead look, like they were on the verge of death. They were a skeleton with skin stretched over them, and pretty much somebody starving to death. So one of the most famous cases that I found was it was a Plains Cree trapper. He was a Native American, and he was Cree. His name was Swift Runner, and this was back in the winter of 1878. He butchered and ate his wife and 5 kids. Now this was after his oldest son had died. Now a lot of people believe that what happened was his son passed away, and with the starvation being imminent and him worried about his family and trying to take care of them and the loss of his son, he went insane. And then with his own starvation, he lost it, and he ended up killing them. And then he stuck up there by himself, so what's he gonna do? He ate everybody. So when springtime come, they came up there, he was still insane, and there was still parts of his family there in the cabin. So he was executed, and that's crazy, but there was nothing supernatural about it. Now, the story that me and Barn heard, apparently these things are really, really fast also. And this is where it kind of blurs the line between skinwalkers, shapeshifters, werewolves, wendigos. They're all, to me, they're all in the same neighborhood. But anyway, story me and Barn heard a few years back, the one that we always talk about when we're sitting on the porch, is there was a guy a few years ago in this area. It was in Canada, and it was pretty warm that evening. The guy ate dinner. He went outside on the porch, smoked a cigarette, and he brought his cell phone with him and called a buddy of his. As he was outside talking to his friend, every time he would drag his cigarette and reach down to ash it, he would hear something run through the yard. He kept running back and forth really fast. He thought it was some kids out there playing around. So he goes in the house and gets his gun. And he tells his buddy he's going to go check it out and call him back. He heard the noise go down to the boat dock. So the guy gets his gun, goes down to the boat dock, and as soon as he reaches the top of the dock looking down at the water, he sees this tall, skinny man's body. And from what he could tell, it was the head of a man, but it had the horns of a deer. And as soon as he saw it, it turned around and saw him, and he said it sprinted towards him, and it was instantly right in front of his face, and then it just went past him. He could feel the breeze, and it was gone. So, it gives me the chills just thinking about it right now. But that's a supernatural aspect of it that a lot of people talk about. Like I said, it's similar to the skinwalkers, and that's another Native American legend, but that seems to be out in the desert area. So they all kind of mix together, and I found a chat room while I was researching all this, and it was people who say that they're actually skinwalkers and something called a coyote kin, and apparently there's all these different kins. Like you can have coyote kin, you can have wolf kin, cat kin, dog kin. Some people were talking about how they were skinwalkers, and the common form for a skinwalker to transform in is a coyote. But one guy was in there, and he was talking about how his transformation is always into an owl. Now I thought this was like a video game or a role-playing chat room that I'd got into, but as I kept reading, these people are serious, and that's cool. Don't get me wrong. Everybody's and from what I got up to the top and I was reading, what the chat room was for, and the definition of this, it's Theranthropy, Therian. It's the Therian belief. If I'm saying that correct, if I'm wrong, you guys correct me. I'm sorry. I don't know much about this world. And it's called Amino Apps. It's the site I went to if you guys want to check it out. And like I said, I'm not making fun of anybody. It's just, it was really crazy because I'd never heard about anything like this. But these people, instead of what do they call it? Instead of identifying as like me identifying as a man, these people identify as a certain creature. Or it doesn't have to be a creature. It could be a cat, it could be a dog, aliens, angels, demons, TV characters, even fucking chickens was on there. So, like I said, not judging, it just caught me off guard. Um, and as far as the different TV characters, they've been talked about through the years. They've been depicted in many forms on TV. They were in Pet Cemetery in the novel. I don't think it was in the movie. I'm pretty sure it was in the movie. If I'm wrong, once again, correct me, guys. I haven't seen it in a while. Not the old one, anyway. It was in the new. It was in that the Hannibal TV series. It was on for a while. It was on for 3 seasons. I loved that. The visuals in that show were amazing. And I didn't really think about it. It never really hit me until after I read about this. That yeah, that's what Hannibal kept being portrayed as, was a Wendigo, because he was a cannibal, and it never clicked with me. But apparently, even Marvel Comics has got their portrayal of the Wendigo. It fought the Incredible Hulk, Wolverine, even Deadpool. So, it's in that Canadian area, so they've got all those Canadian superheroes. It even fought Sasquatch, the Marvel character, which I think is really sweet, and they should definitely make a movie about him. And then, last but not least, my favorite definition of the Wendigo, and this is more of a, I'm not going to say political, but when I started this podcast, I said I was going to get into some conspiracy theories, so a lot of that goes hand in hand with the government and this and that. And I don't pick sides by any means. I don't trust any form of the government, but that's why I thought this was particularly fitting, especially the way the settlers came over here and handled the whole Native American situation. I've never really liked that at all. But it's the Wendigo as a concept of a social cannibalism. And there's a book in 1978 called Columbus and Other Cannibals. And I just wrote down the gist, and it's a couple of the most famous lines out of the book that I really liked. And that was that colonial Americans were insatiable cannibalistic monsters. The Western expansion brought displacement and destruction as thousands of gold-hungry Americans came pouring over the mountains in search of new lives, stretching its arms out, consuming all that it could. I really like it. It's so powerful, and it really describes what the early settlers did. And the point that it was trying to get across was Wendigos are an expression of a dark aspect of human nature that's in everybody, all humans, and there's nothing supernatural about it, and it's more of a mental capacity than it is physical, and it's the drive towards greed, consumption, and complete disregard for other human life in the pursuit of one's self-wealth. And I thought that was awesome. It's a killer line. So if you get a chance, I know I'm going to check it out. It's, like I said, it's a book from 1978. And it's called Columbus and Other Cannibals. I'm going to check it out and read it. I did not write the author's name down. I forgot to do that. But anyway, you can look the book up. And if you need to, just hit me up. I'll tell you the name of it again. But anyway, that's all that I got about Wendigos. I was going to go in a little more in depth with the stories. There's thousands and thousands of stories. And like I said, there's a lot of them that are supernatural. But I like the grounded aspect of it, especially that the medical term, the Wendigo psychosis. I'd never heard that before, and it's really interesting because I think the next show that I want to do is I bought this guy. I don't know if you can see it or not because it's kind of small, but anyway, it's got all the regions of the human skull on it, and I've always been interested in like the way the old doctors used to work on people and how medicine was so insane back in, and they did bloodletting and the full frontal lobotomy. I'll go ahead and break the news. That's probably what I'm gonna do the next show on, because I've always thought that was so cool, and I did a lot of research on that. And once you find out like what it is and how it was performed, it's nuts that somebody would even let somebody perform that on their family members. Some people even had it voluntarily done to themselves just because they couldn't concentrate. Anyway, I'm going to do that one next, probably, unless a friend of mine may be coming in from out of town, so I might do a podcast with him about some family stuff with, it's kind of paranormal with some ghosts. And but if not, if there's anything you guys in particular want me to do a show on, like I said, send me a message on Facebook, email me directly, put it on the YouTube comments, whatever, what have you. But yeah, I hope you learned something tonight about Wendigos. If you want to know anything else, just Google it. There's tons of information, and definitely look up that word that I couldn't pronounce right, the therianthropy. That was probably the craziest thing, and I thought reading the paranormal aspect of it was going to be the craziest part of researching that, but that was pretty cool. And if those people really are skinwalkers, and I think a lot of them had like Native American names, so by all means, I know I believe in werewolves, and I think it, I don't think it come from England like the vampires did, and I always like the Native American aspect of the werewolves. So if those people are real, more power to you guys. That's awesome. I'm going to check out that website again and do some more research on it. I might even just do a whole podcast on those guys. If anybody's watching this on YouTube that's in that group, or if they, what's the word? I keep forgetting it. If you identify as a certain creature or animal, hit me up. Explain how it works, and I'll add that to the show, and I'll definitely do a podcast on that, because I thought that was really awesome. So anyway, Born will be back shortly, but until then, I'm Dean, that's Mortimer, and this is the Intergalactic Kegger. Thanks, guys.